everyone, my name is Sarah. Let's talk about SDG number 15, Life on Land. This goal focuses on the conservation of terrestrial ecosystems and biodiversity while combating desertification and land degradation. 1.6 billion people depend on forests and 2.6 billion people depend directly from agriculture, with forests covering 30% of the planet's surface. It's no surprise that land is a key foundation for our food, shelter, and protecting biodiversity. In fact, 80% of human diets consist of plant life. What happens when there are no proper regulations to limit us from using land for resources? There are unfortunate results. Each one puts species, ecosystems, and societies at risk. Deforestation is the decrease of forested areas from human use. This includes agriculture, urbanization, and mining. The loss of trees can cause climate change, soil erosion, flooding, etc. Land degradation is when the land's quality is affected by human-induced processes. Using the land too much during productivity, such as farming, can alter land to be undesirable and unusable. Desertification occurs when natural or human activities lower biological productivity in dry lands. It's a type of land degradation and includes losing water, plant life, and soils. Extinction happens when a species is terminated and no longer exists. Once the last individual of a species dies, it's impossible for it to return. It can be caused by natural reasons, but people are heavily increasing extinction rates. Globally, species extinction has worsened by 10% in the last 30 years. It's estimated there are 2 million different species, but 200 to 2,000 go extinct every year. Amazingly, Japan ranks number 15 as the most forested area given the percentage of land. As of 2020, 68.4% of the land is covered in subtropical and temperate ecosystems. There are 90,000 animal species in Japan, where 279 of those are endemic. Endemic species are animals that do not exist in other countries. Of the 279 endemic species in Japan, 13.2% are threatened. As for plants, there are 5,565 species. 35.9% of these plants are endemic. During World War II, up to 10% of forests were cut to be used for war efforts. Following the war, the government started a plan to replant the trees for development and woodstock. While the program had good intentions, biodiversity and climate change resilience were not considered. Rather than replanting with a variety of native tree species, only 2 were used. Hinoki, also called Japanese cypress, and sugi, also called Japanese cedar. By the time they were finished replanting, 44% of Japan's total forested cover were one of these 2 species. Many of these trees meant for rebuilding Japan were never cut down and created mass hay fever. 1 out of 3 people suffer from hinoki allergies. With the amount of sick people caused by pollen, Daiichi Life Research said that the sick days and decreased worker productivity caused Japanese companies to lose 200 billion yen or $1.8 billion in 2018. For me, I never reacted to pollen until I moved here, and I found out that on my allergy test, I'm actually allergic to hinoki trees. So, in the springtime, I struggle a lot. Some towns argue that the current forestry law isn't sustainable enough. For example, if a tree is cut down, it must be replaced with the same species. This prevents more diverse native species to be planted. Within the last century, Many of Japan's endemic species and biodiversity are threatened or extinct. Habitat loss and overhunting are the main reasons why Japan is facing biodiversity loss. Endangered species, such as the Ryukyu fruit bat and Tsushima leopard cat, are very limited in numbers. 63 Japanese animals are extinct, including the Japanese wolf and sea otter. Following the war in 1945, there was a gradual increase of infrastructures. The 1960s to the 90s had a significant boom in construction. Over a 35-year period, the amount of urbanized areas increased by 20 times. Clearing the forest for neighborhoods and cities was portrayed in Studio Ghibli's Pompoko. In the film, tanuki raccoons are faced with the challenge of losing their homes and resources from humans destroying the habitat. Sasebo City Hall has information regarding the conservation of the natural environment. They are aware of the problem and have determined that 863 plants and animals in the area are endangered or extinct. Horseshoe crabs are a well-known endangered species in Sasebo, as it's one of the most important habitats for them. There is a conservation program for horseshoe crabs, and a popular exhibit is at the Kujukushima Pearl Sea Resort. In Sasebo, a plan has been established called the Sasebo City Landscape Ordinance to preserve and create natural landscapes. An impressive 80% of the city is dedicated towards parks, natural sites, and aquatic bodies. There are occasional meetings and surveys to educate people about hunting, invasive species, awareness, and the impacts of human infrastructures on the environment. The Convention on Biological Diversity reported that only 30% of participating countries will complete their goals in time, but progress will continue. Without proper management necessary to conserve and restore ecosystems, all people and biodiversity are impacted negatively. It's important for countries, cities, and communities to continue monitoring their forests and keep policies updated. If we can strengthen relationships between institutions and local people to contribute towards SDG 15, there could be further development to succeed in protecting life on land.